So as I'm going through and I'm waiting to hear back from the hospital on the transplant evaluation, I want to go through some thoughts that go through my head. I'm in the process instead of selling a portion of a business, trying to figure all that out. But one of the biggest things is really is dealing with the daily pain. You have a little highs and you have a lows. And what I've discovered as you go through this process, you've got to find a way not to live too high on these highs, too low on these lows, somewhere in the middle, kind of keeping yourself balanced, because you're going to have a lot of wins throughout this process. You're going to have a lot of losses. For example, you may not get matched. Your EFRG numbers may come back much lower. And so I don't think you can read too much into each one of these data points, whether it be good, whether it be bad. And so I really think the mental aspect through this process is very important. You can get very depressed very easy, and I think it's important to have a support group, whether that's a church, whether that's a group of friends, or people that are going through the same thing. In fact, it's one of the reasons why I have this channel, is to provide the same support to people out there, maybe that they can help provide to me as I go through this process. And so these are some things you really have to think about as you go through this kidney transplant process. It's really the mental health standpoint. Because look, this could be a long journey. It could be a year, could be 2 years, could be 3 years. In fact, that's one of the things I'm trying to figure out right now as I go through this process. What am I going to do for income? Trying to time it right. Am I going to take 3 months off? Am I going to take 6 months off? Trying to figure that out. Okay, at what point do I kind of cut back working? How aggressive am I on work until I get to that point? Can my health take it? Because I can only work for about 2 or 3 good hours a day. My body's in a lot of pain. I cooked for my family last night, and that wore me out. I had to sit down just after cooking. Sometimes just taking the trash to the street, checking them out, those things just wear me out. And so it's a big balancing act. You don't want to get too depressed as you go through this process. It's easy to lose that energy. But I also think that we have to find a way to live in today and appreciate what's going on today. I have a 10-year-old daughter. And so, making sure as I go through this process, I am transparent with her, but I spend as much time with her as possible as I go through this process. Really teaching her these lessons that maybe she can learn as an adult, but really taking things in today, taking things day by day, not looking so far out by my transplant in 6 months, my transplant's in 9 months. Okay, how do I live today? How do I enjoy today? What can I do to balance the pain, the medications, the test results, to really enjoy today? And that's one of the things I'm learning through this process right now, is how do I appreciate today? How do I take the lessons learned today and apply them today, and really just consume what's going on today, and not looking too far ahead into the future, or looking too much at one test result, or too much at one doctor's appointment. So that's one of the things that I'm focused on right now, is really just living that day to day. And that's really hard for me because I'm a planner. So that's what I wanted to talk about kind of in this week's video as I go through this. I don't have any doctor's appointments for about a month and a half now, as they've got me going about every 2 months, having my EFRG numbers and my blood work checked and all that stuff. So I'll have blood work done and then probably another 4 weeks. I do have a kidney ultrasound coming up in a couple of weeks, that once we kind of get that back, it will kind of tell us how bad the blockage is. I won't be a candidate for stents because of the type of kidney disease that I have, but at least it gives them an idea. So that's what I've got coming up, and that's what I'll be planning on with some of these videos for you as I go through the ultrasound, what to expect on the ultrasound, why they're doing the ultrasound, and all that stuff. So I'm Chris, here with Beating the Kidney Failure channel, and I want to say thank you for watching. Make sure to share, subscribe, and like this channel so we can share this story with others, helping others through this journey.